Welcome to another edition, the live edition of Pittsburgh Sportsline in the BPTV studios. During our COVID pandemic, we're still doing our show with masks, practicing social distancing. My cameraman Steve's back with us. We got Anthony in the control room. I'm Al Levine, the talking machine. We got Chip Hayner, and sad to say, Smoking Jim Frazier has a problem with his car and his radiator. It's under warranty, but somehow it's not fixed yet. So we'll see what happens with him coming back next week. But no, he is not in the hospital. This isn't some thing that's problematic and he keeps it a secret. It's something with his car. At least that's what he told me, folks. So we got a lot of good sports. Pirates are back. Saw the Penguins play before I came in here. So it's exciting to have sports. We're not going to talk about some of the controversy right now. We'll do our normal promos, but we'll have plenty of sports to talk to you with me and Chip. You know, both of us can talk for the full hour, so there won't be many gaps. I'll just tell you that much. So let's get with the promos. First up, we'll see what Steve does with this. Look at that promo. Perfect. Olive Oil's Pizzeria, Hillcrest Shopping Center, 412-831-1900. Call them up. You can pick up stuff there. They'll let you pick stuff up or they'll deliver to you. Great food, great Italian food. They sponsor our show with a pizza and a hoagie, but we have to eat outside. And due to Smoking Jim's timeliness and others on when they come in here, I don't want to wait outside till 2 minutes before we start. So we're not getting any pizza or hoagies, and we're going to check out when we can do that. So stay tuned for that, but go give them your business. They're right here in Bethel Park. Help our Bethel Park community there. Next up, we end each show with Stay Joey Strong. There it is. Joey Fabus Childhood Cancer Foundation. It's founded for Joey Fabus, who died at 9 years old, a month before his 10th birthday, 6 years ago. They've raised over $100,000 to fight the dreaded brain cancer, DIPG, that killed him. And it's a death sentence for kids. If they're diagnosed with it, usually within a year they are dead. And it's a tragedy for sure. But they do a lot of great events in the area. Due to COVID, they're not doing too much like that. You can volunteer money and time when they do activities. So stay tuned for that and check out their website, Joey Fabus Childhood Cancer Foundation. Next up, Bethel Park Historical Society Schoolhouse Arts and History Center. Look at that. Steve did a perfect job centering that. They're at 2600 South Park Road. They do plenty of events. I'll even talk a little bit later about, we had one of our Bethel Park Community Foundation meetings there, and that was last Thursday. I'll tell you about that, and I'll bring that up also. They also have Reginald's Coffee, which gives me a nice cup of loose leaf green tea, and I miss it dearly, but you can go up there at certain hours during the day, bring a lawn chair and sit out in the lawn and sip your tea or coffee. By the way, I've heard they have great tea, and I've seen the bags that they bring in from all over the world, so enjoy their roasted tea there. They have a roaster right there in the place, so check it out. Next up, Dave Cable likes to have a little fun at my expense. There it is. He put my face on Uncle Sam. He said, tell them Uncle Al Levine, the talking machine, wants you for BPTV. Call, you can be a volunteer like Steve and Anthony here. We're doing camera work, audio work, and control room work, setup, and all that other good stuff. And you can call 412-831-3304. Tell Dave Cable that Al Levine, the talking machine, said you could work for us. Next up, I was talking about the Bethel Park Community Foundation. I'm a trustee on their board. They have money for you from $100 to $5,000. They've given out $975,000 over their 25 years of existence. We're hoping to hit $1 million this year. We may not do it, but then again, we might, because we got the Bethel Bounty coming up, and since we can't do it in public, it's going to be a fundraising event to try to raise money for the library, because we're one of the few Gold Star libraries that's still open in the area. We're one of 2 that are open in the area, and that's right after the Carnegie Library, and we all know how big they are. Well, our little library here is pretty prolific in what they do, so they're going to raise some money, and they've already pledged like $25,000 towards that. So when it becomes official, we'll have given out $1 million in 25 years. So it's a great group. Check it out, bpcf.org. That was my update. Next up, we're looking at an event, WE21's Love Gumbo at the Afro-American Musical Institute in Homewood, 7131 Hamilton Avenue. Nice venue. There's going to be music. There's going to be gumbo. They have a special recipe. There'll be social distancing. There'll be masks. There'll be entertainment. There'll be a slight charge for the gumbo. And it's supposed to be delicious. Smokin' Jim said he can't wait, even though I know he's never eaten gumbo. So we'll find out about that. But that's August 22nd, and I think it's from 2 to 5 p.m. And there'll be other restaurants in the area that'll have samples of this gumbo. So check it out. You can buy it. I heard from as low as $2.21 for a meal.
So when you told Jimbo he was going to be eating gumbo, you told him it wasn't Hubba Bubba.
No, I didn't tell him that. I didn't tell him that. He doesn't need to know, but stay tuned for that. And I'm supposed to meet with John, who's the director of WE21. They actually practice the philosophy of Roberto Clemente with baseball teams in the area on how Roberto lived his life with helping other people out. So it's a great group. We'll check it out. Next up, Without Smoking Jim, we're going to come back and talk to Chip Hayner, and that'll be about his trivia time. So we'll come back with Chip Hayner.
Well, welcome back, everybody, and it's time for my trivia segment. And one thing I do have to say is, hallelujah, baseball is back. Enjoy it while it lasts. You know, one of the things I always like to bring up in my trivia segments is I like to bring up the things that I feel will never happen again in the game of baseball.
Sure.
You know, one of the odd things that happened was Johnny Vandermeer in the 30s pitched 2 consecutive no-hitters. It's never been done before, never been done since.
Right.
You know, and I have a feeling that we'll never see that happen again.
In this
I know
day and
Max
age.
Scherzer came close, but thank goodness to Jose Tabata leaning into a pitch, he was able to break up a perfect game. But that got me thinking about what other feat that is related to a no-hitter happened once and has never happened before or since, or as far as I'm concerned, will never happen again. And I did some research, and yes, I do research because I actually read. I don't look at just the pictures.
Good.
But this is what is referred to as a double no-hitter. And what do I mean by a double no-hitter? It's 9 innings pitched with no hits by either team by 2 separate pitchers on opposing teams.
Right.
So the baseball's only double no-hitter happened in May 2nd, 1917. Just around 3,500 fans showed up to watch what would appear to have been just another baseball game. The Cincinnati Reds were about to play the hometown Cubs. The Reds put 29-year-old Fred Tony on the mound. Tony had a great fastball, was a solid pitcher who had won 17 and 14 games the 2 previous seasons. For the hometown Cubs, Jim Hippo Vaughn, also 29, got the call. Hippo Vaughn was one of baseball's finest pitchers during this period from 1914 to 1919. He would win 20 games in 5 of the 6 seasons.
Wow.
Vaughn's unflattering nickname came about because of the not really all that bad body for him. He stood 6'4", 215 pounds. The slightly cruel nickname almost doesn't make sense to us nowadays, as it would seem by the description to be ill-filling or inept.
Yes.
One other interesting fact, in 1909, 8 years before the game in question, Fred Toney had pitched one of the most incredible games in minor league history. Fred pitched a 17-inning no-hitter.
Wow.
For his Winchester, Kentucky team in the Bluegrass League.
That's almost 2 games in one.
This would appear to be the longest no-hitter in any known baseball league and was definitely an eerie precursor to what was about to take place. Reds manager Christy Matheson,
Ooh.
Hall of Famer, put an all right-handed lineup against Hippo Vaughn, hoping to help his team against the tough left-hander. Nonetheless, Hippo got out of the gate in a superb fashion, retiring the first 9 Reds batters in a row. The Reds' Heine Groh led off the 4th inning with a walk, but was thrown out stealing. Gus Getz then walked. It was erased on a double play. These would be the only Reds to reach first base after 9 innings. Fred Toney was even better, issuing just 2 walks, both to the Cubs' Cy Williams in the 2nd and 5th innings. According to the estimated calculation, the odds of a no-hitter being pitched in Major League Baseball are 13,000 to 1.
Wow.
As the small crowd sat agog in the stands and the Reds and the Cubs chattered away and shook their heads in wonder, everyone present realized that they had watched one of the strangest games in baseball history. Something completely unprecedented, a double no-hitter for 9 innings.
Yeah.
James Hippo Vaughn in the top of the 10th retired the leadoff hitter, Gus Getz, popping out the catcher, but then things began to unravel.
Uh-oh.
Reds shortstop Larry Kopf hit a single, breaking the spell. Earl Greasy Neal hit a fly ball to outfielder Cy Williams for out number 2. Then outfielder Cy Williams dropped a fly ball by Hal Chase, putting runners at 2nd and 3rd.
Whoa.
The next batter was the immortal athlete, no less than Jim Thorpe,
Wow.
who had won gold medals 5 years previously at the 1912 Olympics. Thorpe hit the ball right back to Hippo Vaughn, who threw the ball to his catcher, Art Wilson. And it is often asked, since the ball was hit right back to him, why didn't Hippo just throw the ball to first base to nail Jim Thorpe? But Hippo said he knew Thorpe ran like a racehorse, so he threw the ball to home instead. The ball hit Wilson in the chest protector as Kopf ran across the plate and scored the game's first run.
Wow.
According to Vaughn, now some say Wilson wasn't expecting to throw. The truth is that Art just went paralyzed. Just stood there with his hands at his sides, staring at me. Hal Chase saw the frozen catcher and started tearing towards home plate. Vaughn said to Wilson, "Are you going to let him score too?" Wilson snapped out of his daze, tagged Chase out at the plate, easily ending the inning. Cubs catcher Art Wilson apologized to the pitcher in the Cubs clubhouse. Hippo Vaughn remembered Wilson cried like a baby after the game. He grabbed my hand and said, "I just went out on you, Jim. I just went tight." And Hippo Vaughn said, "I wasn't sore. It's just another ball game, that's all."
Whoa.
In the clubhouse after the incredible loss, everyone was pretty sore. Cubs owner Charles Wegman popped his head into the clubhouse and said to his team, "You're a bunch of," begins with an A. In reality, Wegman may have used a stronger expletive, but this is a family show.
Gotcha.
So I'm taming down on the potty mouth. In almost 100 seasons of Major League Baseball that have followed, the Hippo Vaughn Fred Toney double no-hitter on May 2nd, 1917. The event is still unique. So what's the chances of that happening? A single no-hitter, the odds are 1 in 13,000. The odds
They're going to be 10 times.
2 pitchers pitching no-hitters in the same game, got to be astronomical.
Oh, yeah, definitely. No, thanks for sharing. I never heard of that. And Smokin' Jim would contest that because he doesn't even think.
Oh, no, Smokin' Jim would have interrupted me half a dozen times, but that's okay.
Thank you, Chip Hayner.
Because he would have questioned the walks.
Yes.
And the difference is it's a no-hitter, not a perfect game.
Right. He needs that explanation. All right, thanks. We'll continue now. On location, we don't have too much to talk about. You just heard about August 22nd with the gumbo. So that's still on the books. We'll see about that in Homewood. And then I have to get a hold of Master Zhang. I haven't been able to right now, but we'll talk to him about doing a possible show. We're not sure what day of the week. So Steve, keep that on your list, that we'll go out to Wexford to a Taekwondo doja, and we'll go see what Master Zhang can do. All right? That'll be on our schedule there. And I've had a few other people call in to see if we're going to do something in local locations around here or whatever. And I say, due to the corona, we got to just put it on hold to see what activities we're able to do out there. And we'll just keep doing our show and try to entertain you each week, keep you updated on sports, since there's not too much to do about that. So we'll continue there. And since I had a faux pas in the beginning, we're going to do What's on Your Mind right now. And that is sponsored by Skeets Lewandowski of Skeets Service Station, 6103 Route 88, the red, white, and blue station. They work on anything and everything that runs on gas. They do work on cars, trucks, boats, weed whackers, hedge trimmers, you name it, tractors, everything that runs on gas, lawnmowers too. And they started to branch out with working on electronic yard devices and tools too. They can help work on that. They have a drive shaft company, and they can put drive shafts in on cars and trucks, and they have a forge, and they can make all kind of different things. Like I said, they made hooks for Smokin' Jim and all his Sweeties pictures and things that he hangs on the wall. So they do plenty of things out there. Give them a call, 724-348-4715. Tell them Al Levine, the Talking Machine, said you can help them. So go out there and do that. And we're going to start What's on Your Mind, Chip Hayner.
Well, thank you. And back at you, folks. What's on my mind? Alan said we were going to avoid controversy. Well, I'm diving in that deep end of the pool head first.
Bring it on.
Controversy reigns in Major League Baseball. And, you know, all of these protocols were put forth to protect the players from the COVID. And subsequently, people not following their instructions, or even caring about their teammates, the game itself, or even everybody else in the major leagues. What am I talking about? 17 members of the Miami Marlins tested positive for the COVID, which has caused their season to be completely suspended right now. That's 15 players on a 30-man roster. Do the math. Half of the players on the team tested positive, and after finding out that 4 members of the team tested positive on Sunday, the rest of the team decided that they would go ahead and play the Philadelphia Phillies Sunday afternoon. Monday, they get the test back on all the rest of the players, and they find out that 13 more of them had tested positive. How can this possibly happen, and whose decision was it made the decision to play the game? Well, of course, it was the players' decision. Those are the people that should be making decisions, don't you think?
No. I'm opposed to that.
Yeah, and I wholeheartedly agree with you. But, you know, what this could possibly do is this could possibly put the entire Major League Baseball season in jeopardy. Because not only did Miami's games Monday and Tuesday night get canceled, plus all of rest of Miami's games,
until Sunday for sure.
The Phillies games have been suspended. Monday and Tuesday they were to play the Yankees. And while the Phillies players get tested, and although none have tested positive yet, they say it may take 4 to 5 days for positive tests to start showing up if they were exposed.
Sure.
So what do we do now with the Philadelphia Phillies? Do we allow them to expose other teams? And then the question comes, if all of these games are being canceled, what happens to the competitive balance of the league in a 60-game season? How is this going to affect the playoffs? And being that we had a 117-page protocol put out by Major League Baseball, why was there no contingency for this? And oh, by the way, Rob Manfred, the commissioner of baseball,
yes,
says, "Oh, well, this isn't a disaster. We had expected something like this to happen." Well, if that was the case, how come you didn't spell this out in the first place before it happened? And the report came out this afternoon that is, as of now, unconfirmed, but the report is out there that the outbreak was caused by 2 players that decided to go out to a nightclub when the team played in Atlanta 2 days before. So because of the stupidity of a couple, look what's happened to an entire organization who can no longer play. And, these players are doing this because, this is what they live for. This is their passion. And this is their livelihood. And they want to provide for their families. And everybody has to pitch in together. And as a teammate of one of these fools, how do you think they're going to feel? I mean, how would you feel if you put myself, my family, and everybody else in jeopardy? It's quite a mess. This is a story that is not done yet. We've just seen the first chapter.
Yeah.
And this looks like it's going to be a book. And, we always make fun of the NHL because of the haphazard way and the way they do things. But it looks like the NHL is the shining example of how to go about doing this thing, because all of the protocols that they have, and I heard a breakdown of them today, they seem to have this together. They're getting zero positive tests.
Right.
And they have the players in a bubble. They are not allowed to be out
anywhere.
And everybody is pitching in because it's all for the common good. All these players want to play for a championship. And all it takes is one person with his head up his behind to ruin it for everybody. And this is just the first step. Now, Alan and I have talked at length
Yes.
About we didn't see how this was going to be able to work, especially with the size of a baseball team. And more importantly, look at the size of football teams. And how is this going to work when players make such close, intimate contact with one another?
Sure.
I desperately want to see a baseball season played. I want to see a basketball season played. I want to see a hockey season played. I want to see a football season played. But with the way the Major League Baseball and the NFL are doing things, I am not optimistic either is going to happen.
I have
That's
to tell
what's
you,
on my mind.
Chip, I got to agree with you. We've talked about it previously with you, our fans, and among ourselves. We just don't see it. Just like baseball, it said they expected something like that, but yet they just ran 6,400 tests on the rest of the league, and so far they said they got them back. Well, I've heard it takes up to a week to get them. If they got these in a day, then that's great news, but that's 6,400 tests they just used. And now you have the risk with Philly players exposing others, and you've already shut down the Yankees and Phillies for 2 games. And then I heard this stat, because I like stats and trivia like Chip does. They're playing 60 games in 66 days. For all of you that didn't go to Gateway and don't understand math, that means there's only 6 open dates. So as you go past 6 games, where do you make up the other games? Do you do double headers, which create triple headers or quadruple headers? So they're not going to do that. So like Chip and I talked, how are you going to declare a winner when some of them haven't competed for the whole 60-game schedule?
Well, the whole thing is, it's different if you have one player test positive here, one there. But when you've got an outbreak and it affects half of the team,
right?
Just look at the numbers. Do the math with a football team. They're having 80 players coming in to training camp, and then you think about the support staff that's there. It's probably an equal number of people, and
yeah,
there is
I'll say between 20 and 60 people for sure.
There is no bubble. They can go home. They can go out to restaurants. They can go to nightclubs if they want to, and you got to put people on the honor system, and people are not going to, they're going to pound their fist on the table and says, this is the United States of America, and I can do whatever I want. Well, you know what? That's not necessarily always the smartest thing.
Well, bottom line is these players not only affected their team, but they are potentially affecting the rest of the league because of what's happening by their actions.
Exactly.
So that's more than one person, and what can happen, one person can affect the whole league, as we've seen. And we'll talk about a couple other incidences later on, but I wanted to get this out early because this is important to us. We wanted to see, different things happen, and I'll get into, thanks Chip for that, I'll get into what's on my mind right now. What's on my mind is the Penguins. It was great to watch the Penguins. I missed them tie up the game and lose the game, but it was just great to see Sidney Crosby come back in the third period and played, and he looked good. And just the rest of the team, they're getting a feel for being on the ice competing.
Yeah, it's the first competitive game they played against another team in 4 months.
Yeah. So it was great to see them. And the thing that I'm happy about, like I predicted they'd win the Stanley Cup for one reason. They have older guys, and they're all healthy for the first time in their career during the Stanley Cup run. And with the talent and skills they have, I'll take them against anybody, especially with Rutherford, with what he's done to make a younger team. Their average age, I heard now, is like 27 and a half, which that helped from where they were, and they do have some fast young guys with skill. So I'm very happy that they're back there, and I'm so happy that they have Toronto and Edmonton as the bases in Canada, with what they've done with our situation here growing worse by the numbers that they're telling us, and what's happening in Canada is not getting worse. So we'll see what happens with that, and we're going to be back with some Penguin talk on the back end here, and we'll talk other sports also, of course, since we are interested in getting that news to you. So don't change that dial.
And his pass is broken up by Tatum. It's off!
All right, we'll do some Penguin talk because, Chip knows a little bit about the Penguins. I gave you a little glimpse of what I saw on TV. It was actually exciting, Chip, to watch Penguins, even though it's against our dreaded cross-state rival, the Flyers, who actually have a good team this year.
And that's one way of getting the blood flowing early. Saturday, Penguins start a 5-game play-in series against the Montreal Canadiens. And I'll tell you, this is like a 3-game series in baseball, you know. Really, anything can happen. You lose the first game on a fluke, and Carey Price, the goaltender for the Montreal Canadiens, he's capable of stealing a game.
Yeah.
And, and that's all it really takes is...
no, he has the skills, yes.
Now, the question remains, do we have Murray or Jari? And I say without hands down that Matt Murray is the guy you start in net. But what I would do is, if I was Mike Sullivan,
short leash.
Keep him on a short leash, because this is not a series where you can afford to give up a game.
Right.
But Matt Murray, he's battle-tested. He's got his name etched on Lord Stanley's Cup twice.
Yeah.
Okay? So he knows what the pressure is. Jari's had a nice season, but his season's been up and down.
Sure.
Matt Murray seemed to have struggled for most of the season. But I say, after 4 months off, you wipe the slates clean.
Right.
Anything that happened in the regular season, it's nothing but a distant memory. So, and I think the Penguins are, luckily they got Jake Getzel back.
Sure.
Skating with Sid Crosby. Jake Getzel was the best scorer on the team.
And look, you got a rested Letang who works harder than anybody. Just that alone. You got a healthy Malkin.
Malkin, and they said Malkin, it seems to be.
He came back as a beast.
The most impressive in camp.
I've heard that too. Numerous people have said that.
So
it's great. I couldn't agree with you more on your Murray assessment, because I'm old school. I go with, you put the player in who's been there and won cups. Just like you put a guy in the pitch who's won your 20 games during the year. You want him pitching. Even if you had a guy that won 8 in a row at the end of the season, you may use him, but you have a guy that pitched 20 games. Just like Matt Murray has so-so seasons, but during the playoffs, he's a different player. And that's what I go by. And I hope he got better towards the end of the season, which was good, because at times he looked way out of it, just for whatever reason, mentally, physically. And all these players have injuries.
And that's the one thing about hockey players. Hockey players are a different breed of animal than any other professional athlete. These guys play with broken legs, broken arms. And you don't know if
Jaws.
Matt Murray, you don't know if Matt Murray was injured earlier in the season, and they're never going to share with you whether he is or whether he wasn't.
Right.
But after 4 months, everybody should be healed up, and they should be good to go. So.
And the skills they have, they'll only be enhanced because they'll feel better.
And I'm hoping the fact that they have to play in that opening five-game series, that they're actually going to have a little bit more of an edge going into the first round of the playoffs, because they'll have games under their belt.
Sure. And this year, like I tell people, you don't need to win 16, you need 19. So this is new. At 19 games, that's difficult. 16 is tough enough.
But instead of focusing on the number 19, They have to focus on the number one, and that's that game they're playing on
I'm
Saturday
always
night.
one game at a time, as
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
but I have to explain to people because I had a few friends that were arguing with me nicely. They go, where do you get this 19? I go, have you followed anything with what they changed?
Yeah.
And they hadn't. So that's how simple it is. You went from 4 series to an opening series to get in, and that's where you get the 19. 16 plus the 19.
So,
We'll start with 1 win on the first game.
Yeah, and
with Murray.
Yeah, with Murray.
And if they put in Jari the second game, I actually wouldn't argue. I'll just tell you that much because winning the first game means so much.
On paper, this series shouldn't even be close. The unfortunate thing is, game's not played on paper; it's played on ice.
Right.
And anything can happen. In a short series, we've seen the Penguins get surprised before.
It's happened. Don't even bring up Islanders or anything.
I wasn't going to say that I would.
That still hurts me right here.
Yeah,
right in the heart.
Last year, let's not forget, they got swept.
I'm not even bringing that up.
Yeah,
I was so disappointed with that. Things had to change.
I'm surprised that Sullivan kept his job because, the shelf life on NHL coaches.
4 years.
Yeah.
And he's behind.
And even if you won championships in 2 of the 4.
They're still gone.
Yeah.
Look at Scotty Bowman, how many teams he's coached. One of the greatest coaches in hockey history.
I don't think anybody's won as many Stanley Cups as he has.
No, he's the best. And look what he's done here.
Kind of like Red Auerbach in basketball.
Another good point.
Phil Jackson.
Yes.
11.
Definitely. We know a few things about sports. But let's get into some of the other sports. Let's touch on the NBA because they're doing it almost like the NHL is with the bubble, except for being in Miami. I mean, in Orlando.
And they're playing 8 regular season games to determine the seeding for the playoffs.
Right.
Okay, so that'll be interesting to see.
A little twist.
But, and then once again, player in the NBA, a couple of players got waivers to go to funerals for family members.
Sure.
Zion Williamson did it, and he
was
followed all the
quarantined.
protocols. He got tested every day. He maintained his
He's back.
distancing. He made it back to his team, and he's followed all protocols. Another player for the Los Angeles Clippers, well, he had to get himself a plate of chicken wings at his favorite restaurant, which happens to be a local strip club, and well, he claims that there was no girls dancing, but,
The chicken was mighty fine.
So he broke protocol, so automatically he's quarantined for 10 days. Well, the NBA's protocols are if you break protocol for any reason and you become quarantined, that you're going to be fined $50,000 a day. So, for that plate of wings, $500,000 for a plate of wings, that must have been one heck of a plate of wings. And I don't know. I mean, for $500,000, those wings got to do a whole lot more than lay on the plate.
He could have bought a chicken farm for that amount.
I'm telling you, and here's what the thing is, and a basketball team's 12 players. Okay, baseball teams right now the rosters are 30 players.
Right.
Okay, now.
Well, they do have up to 60 players because they have a taxi squad.
Well, but you can't. Yeah, but they're even a different location.
Right.
They're in Altoona.
No, I know.
For
but I'm
the
just
Pirates.
saying numbers for numbers'
But,
sake.
you sit here and think, like, if you can't control a team with a handful of players, what do you think is going to happen when you have a monster like a professional football team? Now, I don't see college football being able to be played at all this fall because, Major League Baseball, NFL, NBA, NHL, they've got unions that look out to protect the rights of the players.
Right.
Well, college football athletes, they don't have anybody looking out to protect them.
No.
They're not getting paid. And do you think the universities care about the players?
They're worried about
They're worried
this.
about, the loss in revenue for, I believe, for the where
College.
the University of Alabama is, it could be in excess of $2 billion.
No, that's unreal.
So
Even
how's
like a
this going to be
univers-
played? And then
Yeah.
then there's another proposal brought up. Well, we'll just play the football season in the spring. Well, what college athlete who is potentially the first pick in the draft would play a season leading up to the draft when he's getting ready to cash in?
Yeah.
and potentially run the risk of a career-ending injury. Trevor Lawrence, for example, who by all rights is going to be the first pick in the draft this year. Would you risk that? These guys aren't even playing in bowl games.
Let me answer that
in
real
January.
simple. No.
Right.
No risk.
So, I
But that's one of the many things, yeah.
I don't see college football being able to be to be played.
Well, look at how some are saying they're only going to play division games. Now, how's that even going to work out if you're playing 6 division games or 7 division games? What if one of those teams is sick and can't play one of those,
The
right?
dynamic that makes this, I think, undoable is the fact that teams have to travel from one place to another. And with the way the virus is continuing, the numbers are continuing to go up across the United States, how can you possibly keep everybody safe? I mean, yes, I know people are going to get sick. That's a fact. People are going to get sick. A majority of the people that get sick are going to survive.
Right.
There's going to be a majority of people that suffer symptoms that take weeks, months, maybe even years, or potentially the rest of their lives to recover
They're
from.
finding some studies that are showing
and
that.
then there are going to be people that aren't going to make it.
No, the death rate, believe it or not, is going up. Whatever numbers you go by, it's going up, and it takes time for the disease to affect people and kill them. But if hospitals are filling up, I'm hearing some in Texas and Miami are over 130% full. I mean, how do you get to that level if you don't have a problem?
That just leads you to, I just don't see how it's going to work. And if somebody could give me a clear-cut picture to exactly how it's going to work and how they're going to ensure people's safety, I still don't even think they figured out how they're going to get children back in school this fall.
Well, look at how right now you have some schools only online. You have others doing a combination. And some, like I just read in Georgia, are telling them to go back with no mask or anything else. So we have
too many mixed messages.
There's so many mixed messages, but they do get sick. Kids have even died from it. And then there are lasting different problems from migraines to kidney issues, lung issues.
And it's a respiratory
infection. And it affects other organs.
Yes.
And that's what they're finding. So, I don't know. I hope everybody's well, and I hope this would stop at some point in time, but we're not flattening the curve. So I see issues with all sports. With college, I got to agree with you again, Chip. Rarely do I agree with you on everything, but you're spot on this, because my question, where's common sense? And that's what we're trying to use here. For all of you, you can disagree with us with opinions, but we're trying to base some of it on the facts that we see.
All political affiliations aside,
right.
And this is, I'm not saying one way or the other, but I'm just saying that what's going on is
realistically, how do you play a sport where so many people are at risk? Any sport, and that's the problem throughout our society. Would I like to be sports back? Have sports back? I bleed black and gold, so I want all those teams back.
So so now to get back to the sports end of this, too much gloom and doom.
Yeah.
So, the effects that not having any fans at games is going to have on the revenues for the teams.
Sure.
You think about this for a second, you've got...
Oh, by the way, that's a great looking mask.
Thank you. Yeah. It is.
Look at that. I just looked again. I said,
I'll tell you what.
That's
you
a great...
to the Pittsburgh Pirates.
We might as well promote that, Chip.
They sent out a care package to season ticket holders, included some Pittsburgh Pirate masks and other booty, but
that is a great mask with the Pirates symbol on it.
And these were designed and made by Mike Tomlin's wife,
Kia,
her company, and she's providing them for a high mark and doing some great things. But you think about the economic impact that
sure.
sports are now. This is going to affect the leagues that have salary caps. Of course, it's not going to affect Major League Baseball because they don't have a salary cap.
Yes.
But you got professional football, and it looks like the salary cap is either going to stay stagnant or it's going to get lowered next year. And you look at what the Steelers have on their radar as far as trying to keep this team together. You've got T.J. Watt. They're getting ready to open up the bank vaults for him.
Yeah.
Minka Fitzpatrick.
Yeah.
I mean, here's another player. Do you want to go see him go play somewhere else?
No.
How are the Steelers going to be able to afford to reward the players that need to be rewarded to keep the Steelers competitive.
And another twist to it is you have Ben Roethlisberger at $35 million a year.
And Ben's contract is hamstringing them, but by the same token, how can you not pay Ben Roethlisberger that money? Because if last year was a perfect example of what happens to a good NFL team when they don't have a quarterback, the Duck didn't do it, and Mason Rudolph was not ready for prime time.
No.
So without a star quarterback, you don't have a chance to win in this league. So with Ben, I think the Steelers can be considered a legitimate
If he is
contender.
truly healthy, which I've heard he is, the Steelers are saying, which to me is so profound, that he's going to be back to even better than he was 2 years ago, 5,200 yards. Now, what I'll say is he took a lot of hits and he has rested up because he looked like a big 300-pound bear
Well, they
on the
say
sideline.
he's lost weight.
Right, which I was hopeful, and I saw him throwing on a couple videos, and it looked like he could throw the ball.
He's saying right now, according to reports, that he's throwing pain-free for the first time in years.
Wow.
Okay, so if he threw for 5,200 yards
With pain.
with a bad flipper, just imagine what he's going to do. And I think that the Steelers have a good core group of young receivers with Deontay Johnson.
Yeah.
This kid that they drafted, a big,
looks
tall
like
target.
Yeah.
I'm looking for Juju to have a bounce back season from last year.
If he puts this away.
Yeah, well,
Or whatever they do with the thumbs.
just for 4 quarters.
Maybe 5. Let him last the 5th one.
But
but I'm hopeful
I
too.
think the Steelers are going to be a force to be reckoned with. Now, other reports that came out today was reporting day
Right.
for the NFL training camps, and they got to come in, they got to get tested, they got to quarantine themselves, and 6 starters from the New England Patriots have opted out and chosen not to play this year.
I heard.
And that is their right to do so. They have the right to opt out. And, it's going to be interesting to see how many more players are going to do this.
I'll give you one more. Before I came here, I get Yahoo updates on my phone, and I got one about the Kansas City Chiefs guard on their Super Bowl team. He's got a medical degree, but he's not a doctor, and he's working as a helper at the hospital. And he opted out because he said, I understand more of the risk than I did before, and I'd rather help and put my life at risk in a hospital helping others.
Than he would play
And
football.
he's giving up. He just signed a cap-friendly contract of $5.5 million a year. So there's a guy giving up money to do what he thinks is the right thing to do.
No, because he's interested in helping other people.
And he has a medical degree, so he
And
believes in that.
And
That makes a difference from what you're talking about, other players on the fringe that only care about themselves.
Right,
Here's a
exactly.
guy that's showing millions of dollars don't mean that much to him. I'm sure he made money before, but he was a good player, and he's taken a year off doing this.
Well, again, moving forward, being that I am decked out in my Bucko gear, my Bucko mask, and the
We can talk some Pirates. Come on.
Pirates are playing right now, bottom of the 2nd inning. Pirates have runners on 1st and 3rd. Score is 0-0 right now.
Good.
So what's going on with the Pittsburgh Pirates, okay?
Yes.
We've played 4 games. We've won 1. We've lost 3. And, if anything, had this been a 162-game season, Derek Shelton was going to get a pass on this year because Shelton was hired in December. The new general manager was hired in December.
Yeah.
The new president of the team. Basically, they blew up the
Whole team.
front office. Not the whole team, but, what they have to do now is the Pirates need to really find out what they have. They have a bunch of young talent on this team, but are these players that we can count on to be contributors in the future? Are these players ever going to even play in the major league? So, yes, we've got a 60-game season, and, nothing I'd love to see more than the Pirates make the playoffs this year, and anything is possible with this season. But what the Pirates really need to find out is what kind of a team we have and
Sure.
and who can do what. Now, the pitchers came into spring training 2.0 ahead of the hitters, and that's pretty obvious with what's going on. The starting pitchers were ramped up to pitch, but the hard thing was to prepare your relievers for what they were going to face when they come into a game situation. Game situation, you're in there to pitch one inning, the adrenaline's flowing and everything. And, like, for example, Kyle Crick last night blew a save. He blew a save in St. Louis.
The day before,
and, here's the thing that's alarming about him. He's throwing a 91-mile-an-hour fastball.
Yeah.
That is not Kyle Crick. Now, Kyle Crick was watching 95, 96, 97 when he was injured last year. He's got a knockout pitch, a slider, and it's only hitting 77 miles an hour. So, is his arm strong enough right now to do his job?
It doesn't seem it.
Sunday afternoon, Burkhart looked great, and Nick Birdie looked fantastic.
Yeah.
Struck out the side on 11 pitches in the ninth inning. I know, but the only problem is these guys aren't ready to be pitching every single day.
Right.
So what's going to happen is we're going to go through some growing pains, and we're going to find out who we got and what they're capable of doing. It's going to be painful, some of the games that we're going to watch, but there is no other way to determine what the Pirates' needs are going to be.
Sure.
And 60 games is a small sample size.
Yeah.
But I would expect better things for next year, but they've got to work with what they have, and what Pirate fans have to be is patient at this point.
And look at even Moran, 3 home runs.
Colin Moran, and he's been working with Rick Eckstein, the hitting coach, and what they did was they evaluated his swing, and basically they decided he should start swinging a bigger bat.
Wow.
For the trajectory of his swing.
Yeah.
Well, it looks like he's running into a few.
They hit one in the river, too, last night.
He looks like he's running into a few. So, these are little things, changes that can be made. And Eckstein did a great job on Hurdle's staff last year.
Yeah.
And he was one of the leftovers.
No, he was.
And I'm really interested to see what Oscar Marin is going to do with the pitching
Moran,
staff.
a little trivia for you. I'm watching the game, and they go, Colin Moran has hit 348 in St. Louis. And he's up to bat. They pitch one to him, and they pitch another and another, and he hits a home run in St. Louis after they said he was batting 348. So it couldn't have been better said and better done.
Yeah, man.
And you appreciate that because he's put hard work in the couple years he's been here.
That's it. And that's the thing with these young players, is if they get the right guidance, the right coaching. One of the things I heard about the new pitching coach, Oscar Marin.
Yeah.
He evaluates each player, and he communicates with each player
individually, yeah.
And presents things to them in a way that they understand it. Ray Searage did a great job while he was here.
Yeah.
But I think he was too analytical, and you can look at all these numbers. And I think baseball sometimes you
glaze over.
And paralysis by analysis.
Yeah.
Have you heard of that term before?
How about you just glaze?
There's so many numbers, but how do they apply to each situation and what you're doing?
Right.
And what Oscar Marin has done is he's kind of dumbed it down to the point where here's what these numbers mean, and here's how they affect.
Yeah.
Here's how you can affect these. And I mean, Musgrove looked pretty good on his first outing.
Yeah.
Guy I was real impressed with last night was Chad Cole. Hasn't thrown a pitch in the major leagues in 2 years.
Yeah.
Tommy John surgery.
Here's another guy I'll throw at you, Brubaker.
T.J. Brubaker.
He came in for 2 innings, and what did he have, 4 strikeouts?
4 strikeouts, and he shut down the Cardinals, went through the meat of their order. And they said last year, coming out of spring training, that he was the guy to watch.
Yeah.
And then he got hurt and missed the rest of the season.
But look how he came back this year. That was impressive with his pitching, just unbelievable.
So there were some bright spots in his team. And I think as the season goes on, I think roles will be more well-defined.
Yeah.
Pretty much what they've done is they're like, okay, on this day, this guy's going to pitch the 7th, 8th, 9th, and they're just going with that instead of just saying, I'm going to throw Nick Birdie out there every night until his arm falls off.
Sure.
Well, his arm almost fell off last year. I remember watching that game when he got hurt, and, I cringed when I saw him grab his arm, and he fell to the mound in tears.
Sure.
There are some things to be optimistic about.
No, we can be hopeful, but again, when you have to do rebuilding and you're moving people in that you didn't have before, like you said, Chip, you got to find out what they can do.
Well, they didn't get much of a chance. I mean, what they have, like 2.5, 3 weeks
Yeah.
of spring training 1.0 games.
Right.
They played 3 preseason games in spring training 2.0.
Yeah.
And now tonight it's their 5th game.
Sure.
You know, one of the things that's surprising, Brian Reynolds doesn't have a hit yet this
Yeah.
year. You know, and Brian Reynolds last year was a hit machine. Now, you know, it's only 4 games, and they've moved him down in the order tonight.
Sure.
You know, they put Frazier first, Newman second,
Yeah.
Josh Bell third, and they've got Colin Moran DHing tonight
Yeah.
in the 4th spot.
Cleanup. Yeah.
And they want to get Josh Bell more at bats, so they moved him out of the cleanup spot. They moved him up. They moved him up into 3rd, into 2nd spot.
Sure.
Because the more at bats that you can get him, the better the likelihood is that
It
he's gonna run into one.
Yeah.
So,
No, but it's little tweaks that are going to happen, and you have to learn your players. That's the key thing you said, and they don't know.
no, they don't, and we don't know. And you know, right now everybody's an expert. You know, and you know, and the funny thing is, I hear criticisms on the radio about this person, that, and nobody has seen these guys practice, play. I haven't seen them play
No.
this year. So you know what? I've watched every single game so far.
Yeah.
Okay, and I'm learning.
Yeah.
And I'm seeing some things I like, and I'm seeing some mistakes being made
Sure.
that
There were already a base running error or two.
I mean, the game we won on Sunday afternoon, the starting pitcher Mitch Keller didn't make it to first base in time, and a run scored.
Yeah.
You know, it should have been the 3rd out.
Sure.
You know what I mean? So,
Little things.
yeah, it's little things, it's little mistakes, but you know, these are the things that kept happening with Hurdle, and you know, and now that they've got a younger team, I can accept mental lapses.
Sure.
When you've got a veteran team and they're still continuing to make the same mistakes.
Sure. Sure.
Less tolerance
And even
for 'em.
certain plays that the repetition, they'll get better by the end of the year compared to what the beginning of the year is, because they'll improve.
No, and
When you give them the chance.
I do believe that's going to happen, and I do believe that the roles in the relief staff are going to be more well defined. It's just going to take some time to figure
They
out.
got to see who it is.
You know,
Yeah.
I personally, I think there's something wrong with Kyle Crick. I don't, you know, I
He's
think
not the same.
no, he's not the same. And here's the worst part of it. There's nowhere to send him to get work on the mound.
At this time, yeah.
You know what I mean? There is
The way
no,
the season is, this is it.
Yeah, there is no games being played in Altoona. There's
No.
games being played in Indianapolis.
No, so there's nowhere to go for the players.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a shock, but, you know, we'll work with it. I'm an optimist, you know.
Half full.
Yeah, definitely. I think just give them a shot. And it's only 60 games, so anything can happen.
Anything will happen. That's that.
Definitely.
But,
What's your thoughts on the Steelers?
well, you know, it's hard to say. I do think that the Steelers, if they, you know, I don't expect the defense to have as many turnovers as they have last year, but I think the Steelers' defense will be solid enough. And if the offense can put up some points, now I do like the fact that they picked up a tight end.
Yeah.
Eric Ebron.
Yes.
And, you know, they strengthened the receiving core. And I think with Ben as the quarterback, the passing game, I'm a little bit skeptical about the running game.
Yeah.
I love James Connors. I love
If he
his
can
story.
stay healthy.
You know, if he can stay healthy. You know, and what's it, Benny Snell football?
Yes.
Um,
He showed some
He
improvements.
showed some improvement. I'm interested to see what this kid from Maryland that they drafted can do, because he seems to be another one of those all-purpose backs.
Sure.
And I think they're going to need them all.
Yeah. No, we will. I just want to see how healthy Ben is, first of all, to see what the real deal is with him. If he's back to how he was, that solves a lot of the problems. So, you know, that does help. And as far as the receivers, some got better, you know, and we'll find out what they are like this year. And then I heard some things on the defense that we were only ahead with maybe a couple games and not many points. So with Big Ben scoring some points, the defense may be able to actually rush the quarterback and force some other fumbles and interceptions that they weren't able to last year. Because to get 36, you know, turnovers is pretty darn good. And it's hard to replicate that year to year, as you say.
Yeah.
But maybe if they can get close, that would be a good sign. And with a better offense, that would definitely be a great sign. So we'll see. I'm going to wait and see attitude with the Steelers. There's too many ifs out there. And I think we got another minute and a half to go, according to that clock, boys and girls. So we'll go by that. So we've covered most of the sports, and we're just hopeful with the Pirates. Penguins, what's your prediction? Do you agree with me with the Stanley Cup?
You know what? I believe they can, but there's some strong teams that they've got to beat.
I don't deny that.
The St. Louis Blues in the Western Conference.
Look what they did.
And Boston Bruins, they came back with a vengeance this year after losing in the 7th game last year. Philadelphia is much improved, and then don't forget, Washington's only 2 years removed from winning a cup.
Yeah.
You know, and
No, we'll have our work cut out for us, but I've seen the grittiness of the team, and with the attitude they have in a leader like Sid, and with Malkin back in shape better than he's been because he wanted to be. He showed that in the early part, and now he's shown it again, which is great. So I'm sort of happy about the black and gold potential here.
Yeah, we definitely have something to look forward to, and I think the NHL, for once, got it right.
Yes, no, and it's great to see that stuff, and we're winding down, so I'm aware of it. You can relax, Steve. I'll try to handle it here. We miss Smoking Jim Frazier, but he'll be back next week, I'm sure, when his car is running. And Chip, it's always a pleasure to talk back and forth with you.
Always.
And enjoy the chat here. Hope you, ladies and gentlemen out there, enjoyed our show. We're trying to be entertaining and provide information. Of course, these are our opinions. You can disagree all you want. We don't mind. Please stay Joey strong.